Hello, everyone.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's nice to see so many people here for our academic internship workshop. This is the second one of our workshops for public health students this quarter that are focused on opportunities outside of the classroom. So we're really pleased to welcome Mackenzie Richardson and Caitlin Liu. They are peer advisors in the academic internship program, and I'm going to let them completely take it away.
Yeah, thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Let me go ahead and share my screen so we can get the PowerPoint going. All right, so my name is Mackenzie Richardson, and I'm a UCDC peer advisor. I was a political science major when I went to undergrad at UCSD, and currently I'm getting my master's in public policy at UCSD. I personally did the UCDC program almost 3 years ago, which is kind of crazy. So I'm really excited to share this opportunity with you. And Caitlin, would you like to introduce yourself next?
Hi, everyone. I'm Caitlin. I'm currently a fourth-year undergraduate in the public health department. I have worked with AIP for the past year, and I've actually been in the AIP program a total of 3 times, which is the maximum amount of times you can take AIP. So that's all introductions from me. So give the mic back to Mackenzie.
Awesome. So just before we get going, I wanted to quickly go over some of the considerations for public health majors in these opportunities. So as a reminder for all of you, there are, just kidding, forgot to unmute, LOL. Okay, so there is a couple of considerations for public health that we just like to briefly go over with you guys again before getting into these opportunities and how you can apply them to the public health major. So as a reminder, you do have 5 courses of electives, so a total of 20 units, and a minimum of 1 course from these listed courses. And you may petition to use AIP 197, UCCS, or any kind of study abroad experience to fulfill these requirements, and just make sure that it is approved by the department. Have it pre-approved. However, no more than 8 units between these opportunities can be used to meet the upper division major requirements. So if during this presentation, you're like, wow, I want to do it all. I really recommend that you go meet with your counselors and see, what wiggle room you have in your 4-year schedule to be able to do these opportunities and ensure that you're graduating on time and you're meeting all of your major requirements. So getting into first the UCDC program, this is the program that I personally did, as I stated. This is an opportunity to go live in Washington, D.C. for 1 quarter, and UCDC is offered every single academic quarter, including summer. So there is an opportunity every time of the year to go. So while you're living in Washington, D.C., you'll be working a full-time internship while also taking a class at the UC Washington Center. And the class is taught by a UC faculty member who lives at the center for the quarter. So it's a really great opportunity to, have a full-time job, gain internship credit and academic credit for doing it, but you also still have the feeling of being a college student while you're taking a class with your peers. And one of the best things about the UCDC program is that you get this really unique network of people that you know in the city, whether that's professionals, people you meet at your job, people you meet who are like speakers at the UC Washington Center, but also the other students that you're living with and doing the program with during your quarter in DC. Because you will be there with students from all across the different UC campuses, because the building says University of California in the heart of DC, which is really cool. And another really great thing about the program is it allows you to understand how Washington, D.C. works, how the federal government works, and how kind of everything comes together to operate in the city and the general DMV area. So then there is a couple different options for internships. I would just like to preface by saying the UCDC program is unique in that you get to choose your own internship. So it is every student's responsibility to find, apply for, and eventually obtain an internship. However, it gives you a ton of flexibility to decide where you would like to apply to. So some examples of the types of organizations that you can apply to their internships for would be nonprofits, Capitol Hill, so that could be the House of Representatives or the US Senate. You could even be a White House intern. There's also the different US departments, so like Health and Human Services, of course, or Agriculture, USDA. You could even go work for, like an executive branch agency, Congressional Budget Office. There's so many opportunities for all these different types of organizations that all do a lot of health related work. And even you might want to bridge outside of something that's like very strictly health and think of more an abstract idea of health that you would want to look into, or maybe you want to learn more about housing, different things that are related back to human health. And of course, you can also work in research at, say, like a think tank. You could even go work in media. I was a news media intern at a think tank when I did the UCDC program, and it was a really cool way to just see like how a research institution works in Washington, DC, and also like how you get out information to the public. And then on the right side, I have some examples of organizations that public health students interned at in the past and other health related majors. So that's just something, I would like all of you to consider if you're thinking about UCDC. And we do have a list of all of the internships that students have completed in the past on the website, the UCDC website. And we also have a list of different internship databases and different organizations that we know of that you can go peruse. So in order to be eligible for UCDC, we do require upper division standing. So that means you've completed 90 units and you've taken at least 2 upper division courses by the time you go to the program. So if you want to apply for the program, but you haven't quite fulfilled these requirements, but you will have fulfilled them by the time you actually go, you can still apply. And if that's confusing, please feel free to come, see myself and our other advising team about the program. We also ask that you have at least a 2.5 GPA. 3.0 is preferred and the program can get competitive. So if you have concerns about your GPA, again, I recommend you come to our advising hours or come make an appointment with myself to talk about it. And then lastly, one point I would like to make is that US citizenship is not required for the UCDC application. So if you're an international student or DACA or undocumented, you are still absolutely eligible to apply. We have an FAQ section on our website that has a little bit more information about this. I recommend you go check it out. You come talk to us and you go to your resource center to get more information about the different things that you can do to prepare for this kind of opportunity and make sure you're set up for success to apply to the program. The other thing I would like to point out is that there are internships in DC that require you to be a US citizen. So that's just important to keep in mind that if you want to sometimes work at a federal department, they do ask that you have citizenship status. To apply for UCDC, once you're ready, and our applications usually open about 2 months before the program that quarter itself. So currently we're recruiting for spring 2022 and summer 2022. So we're about 2 quarters out. So to apply, you will need the UCDC application form, which is like a Google form that you fill out with your information, a resume, a cover letter or letter of intent. And we have information on our website about the differences between the two so that you can review them and have them for a reference. And then most importantly, this is the one that I like to point out because it sneaks up on people. We ask that you submit 2 letters of recommendation for your application. So these can be submitted online via Interlink. You can submit them to us in person. Right now, we're going to be located in the literature building. So that might be a little bit difficult to find. I might recommend right now that you try to just email it to us or submit it via Internlink to avoid any confusion. So if you have a recommender, you can have them submit it via email as well, which is great. You are not required to have a letter of rec from a faculty member, so that would be like a professor or a researcher, but we do suggest it just because they can speak highly to your academic ability, and so that we can ensure that you're going to be okay in the program juggling a full-time internship. Sorry, I think my fire alarm is low on battery. So if you hear talking, that might be it. So as I mentioned earlier, you're completing a full-time internship for academic credit while also taking a class at the UCDC Center. So this is kind of how that breaks down. So your internship credit is listed as the class AIP 197 DC. And you can take it for 6, 8, or 10 units, and it's pass, no pass. So this course normally doesn't correspond to any kind of major credit, except for cases like public health. So definitely go double check that this, getting this type of internship credit through AIP 197 DC is going to keep you on track in the public health track to graduate and fulfill all of your requirements, and ensure that you're not going to go over that 8-unit limit that you have to apply to your major. And then the research seminar credit, there's a couple different ways that you can apply this. So you can take this as a poli-sci class, a sociology class, a communications class. You might want to check with your college advisor even to see if this could fulfill some kind of GE credit for yourself, because this is a 4-unit upper division course that is taken either for a grade or pass, no pass. So you can kind of apply this one to however it best serves you, because it is listed as the equivalent of an upper division major class. You also have the ability to take an elective course as basically another 4-unit graded course. I don't usually recommend this option for students unless you are nervous about graduating with enough units, because I think the focus should be on your internship. So it's optional. If you're thinking about it, once you're admitted, we'll advise you through it. And then we do have a full list of the courses offered at the UC Washington Center on the website via this hyperlink. So again, as a note, you will need to petition all the courses taken at UCDC to the Public Health Department. And yes, I do think we'll be sending these slides out after the presentation. So again, if you're interested in this program, I really recommend you keep an open line of communication with the public health advising team, as well as your college advisors, just to, again, make sure that you're on track to graduate and you're going to have all of your requirements fulfilled. Getting into cost. So one of the great things about the UCDC program is you are still a UC student. So the cost of tuition is the same. The residential price goes up a little bit just because the cost of living in DC is higher, and all of your financial aid travels with you to DC. So for myself, I had some tuition coverage with my financial aid here at UCSD. So when I went to UCDC, it went with me, and I had that same tuition coverage when I did the program. One thing to note is that students are responsible for some costs, which are your round trip airfare to Washington, DC, local transportation. So in the past, there's been a Metro card provided to students, but it's always up in the air of whether or not that's going to be continued every quarter. I hope it continues to be offered. But if you want to take Uber, if you want to buy a bicycle, you'll have to finance all of that yourself. Sightseeing activities, professional clothing, all those items you will need to personally finance. So I recommend that you look at our UCDC estimated budget for that breakdown of usually what it costs per quarter, so that if you're planning on applying to this program, you can also financially plan for the program. I also recommend, if you have a financial aid package currently, you go talk to the financial aid office about how that package will get translated to UCDC, because sometimes they do increase it since the cost of living is a little bit higher and the residential cost is a little bit higher. If you don't have financial aid or you need additional financial help, we do have some scholarships available. So one is the UC Office of the President, Presidential, it's like the Public Policy Fellowship. It's about $1,000 to $1,500 for the quarter. And students can apply to that once they're admitted to UCDC. Also, AIP has a couple of scholarships that you can apply to as well that are both merit and academic based. And this is just a quick testimonial from a public health major who participated in the program back in 2017. So they were a legislative policy analysis and advocacy intern at the AIDS Institute. And so they just learned a lot about how that particular nonprofit works and how, health policy gets crafted at the national level. And they had a really great experience at the program and, help them figure out what they wanted to do after graduation, which I always say is usually the biggest benefit of the UCDC program. Is it just really like blows open to your mind at all of these opportunities that exist for you to get a job in. And it also gives you a network of people that you can ask about, what do you do for your day job? How can I get into that field? Would you be willing to introduce me to some people and some organizations? So that's really, I would argue the big benefit. And this is just a quick timeline path to DC. So you're kind of in step one. If this program sounds really interesting to you, you can start to plan for it. You can start thinking about what quarter you might like to go. You can think about your finances, go meet with financial aid if necessary. Think about if you need to get a job over the summer to save up. I definitely did that. And then you can also start looking at internships, which I always recommend. You just go see what is out there and what is interesting to you so that you can start to become aware of when are organizations usually hiring for their interns. Should I apply to internships before I apply to UCDC, etc. Next, you'll want to prepare your application for the DC program. We do hold UCDC application workshops where we go over foundations of resumes and cover letters. We provide some resume and cover letter advising if students would like it, so that you're really prepared to then apply for UCDC. And again, the 2 letters of rec does sneak up on you. So I recommend reaching out to potential recommenders as soon as possible. Once you know that you want to apply so that you're all set. And then once you're accepted into the program, then really the internship search becomes crucial. So our team of advisors are here to help you through that process. That's also where this connecting with the UC Washington Center portion comes in, because UCSD has a specific advisor who helps you look for internships once you're admitted to the program. And again, throughout the entire process, our peer advising team, myself, as well as any other UCDC peer advisors that get hired on, are here to help you with the application and internships. So these are the upcoming deadlines. If you are really interested in doing this program as soon as possible, we have the spring priority deadline coming up in about 2 weeks. So it's November 15th. This is not the final deadline. The final deadline will likely be sometime in December, and we will probably announce that shortly after the spring priority deadline closes. So definitely watch our website, follow us on social media, where I usually post updates about deadlines. If you're interested in summer, because that might be the best time that works for you, we only have one deadline for that, and that's January 17th. Please come talk to us if you're interested in summer. It is a competitive program because we have a lower amount of spots, and summer internships in DC can be really competitive. That being said, it's not impossible. So again, if you're interested, please come to drop-in advising or make an appointment, and we'll have more information about that later in the presentation. So to segue, and I'll answer any questions in the chat after my sections are done, and I'll pass the baton over to Caitlin for AIP. So the next program I want to talk to you all about, that I didn't personally do, but I'm very familiar with because it's kind of the sibling program to UCDC, is the UC Center Sacramento program. And it is very similar to DC in that you are traveling to, instead of the nation's capital, it's the Californian capital, Sacramento, yay. And you're working in a policy-based internship. So it is a bit more of a public policy program versus UCDC. There's more free reign. You can work wherever you like. Sacramento, you get placed into an internship, and most of those internship placements, they try their best to match your interests. So there's definitely lots of health related work up at the state capitol, but the courses are more public policy oriented. So it is a more policy oriented program. You will take your courses at UC Davis. So all of the credits, again, transfer back. You're working an internship and getting academic credit. And similar to UCDC, you're connecting with other UC students. You're gaining this network of professionals and people affiliated with the UC campuses. And similar to UCDC, you're getting this exposure to the political process. Just this time, it's at the California state level. Similar to UCDC, UCCS also requires upper division standing. So that's 90 units by the time you go. The same GPA requirement. For transfer students, it does require that you've completed at least one quarter. So if you're a transfer student right now, you're good. You're good to go. And similar to UCDC, US citizenship is also not required for the UCCS application. And similarly, I still recommend that you go talk with a resource center to ensure that you're all good and doing this program isn't going to cause any problems for you. Similar to UCDC, it's a very similar application process for UCCS. So UCCS has their own application portal hosted through UC Davis where you will apply. So that's not hosted by Internships like UCDC. And the application is very similar. It's a form, a resume. Instead of a cover letter, you'll write an essay, and you'll also need to upload your UCSD transcript, as well as if you're a transfer, or that's not true since you have to take one quarter. Yeah, so it'll just be your UCSD transcript. So as I said, the courses at UCCS are a bit more public policy focused, and they are more rigorous. So you're completing up to 15 units. So that's a pretty big bump up from the 12. So that's the equivalent of an extra class. And as you notice here, versus at UCDC, you're only taking one class and you get to choose whichever one you want to take. UCCS, you are doing this more regimented coursework that, as you can see from this list, is very public policy focused. You do get to do your own research work via the Political Science 196E, and you get to write 3 analytic papers. Okay, like you get to write, like, whoa, but you have the opportunity to do your own research, especially related back to your internship. Once again, you will need to petition all of this through the public health department to have it apply to your major. So again, keep that line of communication open with your advisors so that everything transfers and you're in good shape. Similar to UCDC, same process. If you're like, wow, this sounds super cool and UCCS is a really great opportunity for me. Awesome. Keep track of deadlines that are coming up. The UCCS now has its own, at UCSC, we now have our own social media platforms for that, which is awesome. But those deadlines are also still hosted on the UCCS website. So once you know you want to apply, prepare your application, use the online portal to submit. And then, this part differs from the UCDC program. Once you are accepted to UCCS, you will then work with the UCCS internship coordinator to be placed into an internship related back to your interests, your goals. What do you want to do with your experience? What kind of an experience you want to get out of this program? And all the while, if you have questions about, is this program right for you? How can I, best apply? Please come talk to us. We have a UCCS peer advisor who She doesn't work today and she wasn't able to make this presentation, but she is available to meet with you and help you guys out. And this is actually her testimonial while she was working at Cal EPA. So she did a lot of really impactful work with language access policies and actually got to do this like hands-on solutions crafting to mitigate waste in the Tijuana River. And she's currently working on her thesis that's related back to what she did at UCCS. So it was a really impactful research opportunity for her, which is awesome. And then this is just a note for applying your internships from UCDC and UCCS. So these are the steps to actually like submitting this towards the health policy internship. So you'll need to submit a general petition, a personal statement, the course syllabus, and a copy of the internship description and student responsibilities to the Public Health Student Affairs Office. And then once you submit all of that, you'll need to look for a message from Public Health Department in the virtual advising center. So that can take anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. So again, big takeaway from this presentation, keep that open line of communication, go to advising, go double check with your counselors, keep a checklist of what you need to do to apply these programs to the major so that everything is in order and you're very aware of what needs to get done. Public health is not the only department at UCSD where you need to do a petition process for UCDC and UCCS. So, you know, you guys are not alone. Econ's much harder, fun fact. But, you know, big takeaway, plan in advance and go to advising, especially when in doubt. So for UCCS, they're currently recruiting for summer. Spring is unfortunately closed. The summer deadline is December 2nd of this year. And then the fall 2022, so next fall, that application portal will open up likely in March with a deadline of probably April or May. So again, just check out the website for updates. And if you ever have questions, you know, feel free to email us or come to drop-in hours, and we're more than welcome to tell you what we know and give you an update. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn the presentation over to Caitlin to talk about the academic internship program, which is about local internships here at San Diego.
Thanks, Mackenzie. Just for new students who are dropping in, I'll introduce myself again. I'm Caitlin. I'm a fourth-year undergraduate student here at UCSD, also in the public health program. Awesome program. So yeah, I'll be here talking about AIP. So AIP, otherwise known as the Academic Internship Program, a little bit about it. It's a program here at UCSD that allows students, specifically undergrad students, to get course credit when they're taking an internship locally or remotely since the opening of the pandemic. Why is it so important for UCSD students like ourselves? Well, you can apply your classroom knowledge in a professional setting. You are able to fulfill public health elective requirements and explore new career options through an internship. So there are a few steps to apply. First, you have to get an internship. This could be that you're applying through our Interlink page, or you could find an internship outside of Internlink. This could be through Handshake, LinkedIn, Bill Portal, Indeed. There's a lot of ways you can get an internship that you've found on your own. You just need to make sure that it meets AIP internship guidelines. This possibly could be through looking at the website yourself, or we recommend you schedule an appointment with one of our peer advisors to just double check and ensure that your internship is good to go and you can be part of this process. So the application really has two major components. You will have to submit a learning agreement, which is kind of like a written form between you, your supervisor, and AIP talking about what are you going to be doing at this internship? What do you want to learn? And also kind of like, what's your supervisor's phone number and contact? Let us know about, very key important things. After you've submitted your learning agreement and have gotten that approved, you will need to submit an easy request. For those who don't know what an easy request is, it's a form through WebReg that allows you to enroll in special classes like AIP. So how does AIP count towards credits? Well, there are two main different AIP courses. There's AIP 197 and AIP 97. One is upper division and one is lower division standing. Each of them have their own criteria of eligibility, but they function very similarly. So the eligibility for the upper division standing credit is that there are, you need to have 90 units completed and a 2.5 UCSC GPA. You also need to have completed 2 to 12. Oh, sorry. You can do 2 to 12 units with AIP. Most internships are requiring 4 units or take up to 4 units. 4 units would usually mean you're working 5 hours per week. So over 1 quarter, 2 units is 5 hours per week. So up to 1 quarter, 4 units would be 100 hours during that 10-week period at UCSD. You will also work with a UCSC faculty advisor to develop a research paper or project related to the internship. For the lower division, you need to have 30 units completed at UCSC and a 3.0 UC GPA. The lower division is only available to gain credit up to 4 units. And the same with the upper division, you'll work with a UCSC faculty advisor for that final project, a research paper or project. So what to expect during the quarter? There's a couple things. AIP is not like a typical course where you sit through lecture every week. There are some different aspects, like you have these projects. For example, you have a group check-in during weeks 5 and 6, a mid-quarter reflection week 7, which includes an informational interview. You do have to track your hours at your internship. You have self-program evaluations during week 10 and the paper and project. So to go more in depth about these a little bit more, the group at check-in, you'll be talking with an AIP counselor or someone who, unlike Mackenzie and I, who are peer advisors, they'll be more in charge of what you're doing and just checking in like, hey, how's your internship going? Are you going through and learning all the skills you wanted to learn? What have you learned? That's the kind of thing you would do with your check-in. A mid-quarter reflection is mostly your own reflection on how you're doing in self-evaluation, whereas the informational interview is something you do with your internship supervisor, and it's a great way to help guide you and network with the community you're building outside of UCSD. The self-program evaluation is very similar to the mid-quarter reflection, but the paper and project that you'll be doing, like we talked about earlier, you do need to work with your faculty advisor on it together. Yeah, that's all I have to say for this slide. So your path to AIP, I know we touched on this a little bit earlier, but here are the main steps to apply to AIP. So you need to have secured your own internship. We can help you through this process. We do have appointments available to look over your resume, your cover letter, but you need to acquire your own internship. You also need to ask a faculty advisor to be your faculty member to be your advisor. And you should discuss your project that you're going to be working on throughout the quarter with this said faculty advisor. As discussed, next is the learning agreement. It's really not too hard, but you do need to have that approved and ready before you submit your easy request. Your easy request form will be uploaded onto the easy toggle button on WebReg, and you will download it, your learning agreement, and upload that to the easy request. You also need to indicate the proposed AIP paper and project, and the registrar will enroll you when everything is approved. Once you're approved, you're good to go, you're in AIP and can do what you need to do. So, yeah. When you apply for your AIP internship, you can use the AIP credit towards your public health major requirements after you apply. You will have to talk to the public health counselors in advance. I personally have done AIP 3 times, but I believe only up to 8 credits can be used towards your requirements for your major or our major, public health. You will need to sign a general petition and include a personal statement, which talks 1 to 2 paragraphs explaining the merits of the internship or how it relates to public health. A copy of your learning agreement with all the signatures have to be sent in as well to the public health advising team. And you should look through for a message from the VAC for approval. After your grade has been posted to AIP 197, please submit a copy and send it over to the public health advising office. So AIP is available every single quarter, including summer. So the deadlines you should be aware of for fall has already passed, but for winter quarter, the learning agreement is due by December 3rd, I believe. Yeah, so please feel free to contact us. We're available every Tuesday from 1:30 to 3 p.m. Pacific time. Public health majors can connect with the public health advisors or the AIP advisors through VAC. To schedule an appointment with one of our lovely AIP and UCDC counselors, you can make an appointment with Jen through the link in the slides. Like Mackenzie said in the chat, UCDC drop-in hours are every Thursday from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Pacific time. The link is also on our website.
Of course, right as I unmute. Also, Caitlin and I are available to stay and answer any questions that students have about any of these programs since we have a little bit of extra time. So if you have a question you'd like to ask, feel free to post it in the chat or just unmute yourself right now. But thank you everyone for attending the presentation. I hope you learned a lot.
Yeah, thank you everyone.